You ever get that gut feeling that someone just lives to make other people miserable? That they wake up each morning looking for a new way to flex authority they never earned? That was exactly what I dealt with the moment I moved into a quiet suburban neighborhood that, on paper, seemed like paradise. The homes were beautiful, the streets were lined with trees, and the lawns were so perfect they could be in a brochure. But beneath that polished exterior was a little HOA tyrant we'll call Karen. And let me tell you, Karen wasn't just nosy. She was power drunk. And the day she tried to find me for a handrail that wasn't even mine to begin with, she accidentally declared war on the city government. Spoiler alert, she lost. So here's how it all started. About 6 months ago, I bought a modest home at the edge of a cul-de-sac. The property was old but charming, and I loved that it had a front porch with 2 steps leading down to the sidewalk. Just before I moved in, the city had made some accessibility upgrades around the neighborhood. New ramps, trimmed sidewalks, and yes, they installed a few handrails for safety. One of those handrails was at the edge of my property. It was functional, sturdy, and to be honest, it blended right in. Fast forward to 3 weeks after I settled in. It started with a knock on my door. I opened it to find a woman standing there with a clipboard and a scowl that could turn milk sour. She didn't introduce herself, just launched right into it. "That handrail is in violation of HOA aesthetics," she said sharply. "You'll be receiving a notice and fine. If it's not removed in 14 days, further action will be taken." I blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" She jabbed her pen at the handrail like it had insulted her personally. "We have guidelines. That thing is an eyesore and wasn't approved. It's your responsibility as a homeowner to comply." I calmly told her the handrail wasn't installed by me. It was installed by the city. I even offered to pull up the city maintenance notice I received before moving in, but she wasn't having it. "Don't try to shift blame. If it's on your property, it's your problem," she snapped, and stormed off. I stood there dumbfounded. I had heard about HOA horror stories, but this felt like the beginning of some twisted sitcom. I figured maybe it was a misunderstanding, so I called the city. They confirmed, in writing, that the handrail was part of their ADA compliance update. It was not only legal, it was mandated. I printed out the document, highlighted the relevant parts, and dropped them off at the HOA office. I even wrote a polite note asking Karen to review the city's involvement. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. 2 days later, I received an official violation letter in the mail from the HOA. It claimed that I was refusing to cooperate with compliance orders, and that the handrail was aesthetic pollution. The letter also stated that fines would accrue at $150 per day until the offending structure was removed. I was livid. I sent them the city's documents again, this time via email. No response. The fines began stacking. I tried to stay calm. After all, I had the law on my side. But then came the day that changed everything. I came home from work and found Karen, with 2 other HOA board members, trying to rip the handrail out of the ground. I was stunned. One of them had a crowbar, another had gloves on, and was digging around the base. I shouted at them to stop, and they had the audacity to act offended. Karen turned on me, breathless with fury. "You've been warned. You left us no choice. This is what happens when you defy HOA authority." That's when I pulled out my phone. I had already been advised by a friend in city planning to start documenting everything. I recorded them red-handed, damaging what was legally city property. Karen tried to block the camera with her clipboard. Big mistake. I called the non-emergency police line and explained everything. The fines, the threats, and now the physical tampering with municipal property. The officer on the other end sounded interested. "Stay put," he said. "We're sending someone out." 20 minutes later, a patrol car pulled up. Karen straightened up like she was the one who called them. "Finally," she said, "this homeowner is violating multiple codes." But the officer cut her off. "Ma'am, we've already been in contact with city zoning. This handrail was installed by the city as part of an ADA compliance order. It is not within the HOA's jurisdiction." Karen's face went pale. The officer turned to me. "Do you have video evidence of them tampering with it?" "Oh, I have everything," I said, handing over my phone. What happened next was beautiful. The officer radioed it in. Turns out tampering with ADA-compliant infrastructure is a federal offense, especially if it was installed by a municipal agency. A second patrol car arrived. Karen began backpedaling, saying it was just a misunderstanding and that they were only inspecting the rail. But it was too late. They arrested her, right there on my front lawn. One of the board members tried to plead with the officer, but he was warned to step back or face the same fate. Karen was handcuffed and placed in the squad car while a small group of curious neighbors gathered, phones out, whispering excitedly. It was the HOA showdown no one knew they needed. Now here's where it gets better. Not only was Karen arrested, but the HOA itself was now under investigation for issuing unlawful fines and operating beyond its legal scope. Several homeowners came forward with their own horror stories: bogus fines, intimidation, even mail tampering. Turns out Karen had been running the HOA like her own little fiefdom for years. No elections, no transparency, just fear and control. Within weeks, a city mediator was called in. The HOA was temporarily dissolved pending a full audit. Karen was charged with destruction of public property and harassment. She tried to spin the story in her favor, claiming she was just protecting the neighborhood's charm, but charm doesn't hold up well in court. In the aftermath, things got better, a lot better. The city formally apologized for the stress I endured and assured me they'd mark their installations more clearly moving forward. Neighbors who had previously kept to themselves began speaking out. We formed a temporary community council to keep things running smoothly while the HOA mess was sorted. But the real cherry on top? Karen's arrest made the local news, and not in a flattering way. HOA president arrested for tampering with city property, read the headline. The article quoted one of the officers saying, "This was a clear case of someone overstepping their authority and forgetting the law applies to everyone." I couldn't have said it better myself. So if you're watching this and you're dealing with a neighborhood tyrant like Karen, let this be your reminder. Know your rights, document everything, and never, ever back down when you know the truth is on your side. Because sometimes the HOA isn't protecting the neighborhood, they're just trying to control it. And sometimes the best revenge is letting the law do its job.